The locker room door slammed shut like a gunshot, echoing off the tiled walls as Ralph's cleats skidded to a halt on the sweat-slicked floor. "I'm gay," he blurted, the words hanging in the stale air like smoke from a flare gun. Every pair of eyes in the room snapping to him, shock, fury, a flicker of pity twisting their faces into masks he never wanted to see. In that frozen heartbeat, Coach Harlan's clipboard clattered to the ground, and the man who had built this team from raw boys into warriors whispered, "You're done here, kid. Sit the bench for the season or forever." Ralph's heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape the cage of his chest, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead casting harsh shadows that made the faces of his teammates blur into a sea of betrayal. He'd rehearsed this 1,000 times in the mirror of his dorm room, picturing nods of support, maybe even an awkward bro hug from the guys who'd shared his blood and bruises for 4 years at Easton University. But reality was a gut punch. Whispers slithered like snakes. "Freak. Locker room poison. What if he eyes us in the showers?" And Roy, his closest friend on the line, just stared at the floor, knuckles white around his water bottle, saying nothing as the world Ralph loved crumbled under his feet. By dawn, the news had scorched across campus like wildfire, fueled by a leaked voice memo someone had slyly recorded. Protests erupted outside the athletic center, signs waving like battle flags, "Keep sports straight," and "No gays in the game." Ralph holed up in his off-campus apartment, the one he'd shared with his little sister Mia during summers, now a tomb of unpacked boxes and faded glory posters from high school state championships. He scrolled through the hate on his phone, anonymous DMs calling him everything from coward to predator, until the screen blurred with tears he refused to let fall. Football wasn't just a game. It was his anchor, the rhythm that had pulled him from a trailer park in rural Ohio where his dad drank away the grief of a dead mom, leaving Ralph to raise Mia on scraps and scholarships. Coming out was supposed to free him, not bury him alive. The first practice without him was a ghost town in Ralph's mind. He watched from the bleachers, invisible under a hoodie pulled low, as the Easton Eagles ran drills without their star linebacker. Coach Harlan barked orders, his face redder than the team jerseys, substituting in freshmen who fumbled every snap. Roy was there, of course, quarterback, golden boy with his easy grin and arm like a cannon, hurling passes that sailed wide without Ralph's coverage to bail him out. Their eyes met once across the field, Roy's blue gaze flickering with something unspoken. Guilt? Pity? Ralph turned away, the sting sharper than any tackle. That night, Ralph's phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk, Roy." He almost deleted it, fingers hovering like they were defusing a bomb. But curiosity, or maybe desperation, won. They met at the old mill by the river, a rusted relic from Easton's Steeltown heyday, where the water churned black under sodium lamps. Roy arrived in his truck, headlights cutting the fog, stepping out in jeans and a faded Eagles hoodie that smelled like turf and regret. "Ralph, man," Roy started, voice rough as gravel, rubbing the back of his neck. A tell Ralph knew from 100 post-game debriefs. They were the odd couple on the team. Ralph, the quiet enforcer with a poet's soul hidden under pads, quoting Whitman in the weight room to psych himself up. Roy, the loudmouth leader whose charm masked a fear of failing his preacher dad back in Texas. They'd bonded over late-night Whataburger runs, Roy's drawl teasing Ralph's flat Midwest twang, sharing dreams of NFL scouts under starlit skies. "You didn't say shit?" Ralph cut in, arms crossed like armor, the river's murmur mocking the silence between them. "When Coach benched me, when they all turned." Roy winced, leaning against the mill's chain-link fence. "I froze. Thought if I pushed back, it'd tank the whole season. We're 8-1, Ralph. National title on the line. But that ain't an excuse. I should have had your back." The words landed soft, but they cracked something in Ralph. A dam he'd built since he was 14, realizing the crushes he hid weren't on cheerleaders but the track star with the easy laugh. "Why now? Damage is done. I'm poison to this team." Roy stepped closer, close enough that Ralph could see the freckles across his nose, the way his Adam's apple bobbed. "Because you're not. You're the heart of us. And shit, Ralph, I've been lying to myself too long. His hand reached out, hesitant, brushing Ralph's sleeve. Watching you fight alone? Gutted me. I like you, man. More than a brother. Always have. The confession hung there, fragile as frost on the mill's eaves. Ralph's breath caught, a spark igniting in the cold Roy's eyes, earnest and scared, mirroring his own buried longing. They'd danced around it for years. The lingering touches after wins, the way Roy's cheers for Ralph's sacks drowned out the crowd. But fear had kept them orbiting planets too afraid to collide. They talked until the sky lightened to pearl, words tumbling like the river. Roy admitting the pressure from his family's Bible Belt expectations. Ralph unspooling the loneliness of loving in secret. By the time they parted, a tentative promise lingered. Roy would fight for him, quietly at first, planting seeds in the locker room. A hug goodbye stretched too long, Roy's warmth seeping through Ralph's jacket like sunlight after storm. But hope was a fragile thing, and Easton was a pressure cooker. The next week, as the Eagles prepped for the rivalry game against crosstown rivals the Harlan Hawks, named after the same coach's brother, a bitter family feud fueling the fire, tensions simmered. Whispers turned to outright sabotage. Ralph's gear vanished from storage, replaced with a rainbow flag scrawled in marker, "Out and useless." Mia, home from her freshman dorm for the weekend, found him staring at it, eyes hollow. "Blood's thicker than bigotry, Ral," she said, hugging him fierce, her braids tickling his chin. At 19, she was his mirror. Fierce, unapologetic, the one who'd caught him with that dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room and just nodded. "Love who lights you up, bro." She dragged him to a campus queer alliance meeting, where stories echoed his own, but the ache for the field gnawed deeper. Roy's efforts started small. A group chat meme poking fun at the haters, crediting LB12 for the inspo. Then, in film study, he slipped in a clip of Ralph's game-saving interception from last year, captioning it, "Miss this beast." A few guys chuckled, tentative but real. Progress inch by inch. Yet betrayal brewed in the shadows. Tommy Vance, the backup tight end with eyes like a ferret and a grudge since Ralph outshone him in recruiting, had been the leaker. Tommy, who'd overheard Roy and Ralph's mill talk through a cracked truck window, saw opportunity. Jealous of Roy's shine, terrified of his own fading prospects, he fed the story to a local sports blogger. Eagles QB in secret gay tryst? The post exploded by Monday morning, campus ablaze with speculation, Coach Harlan's office door slamming like thunder. Ralph saw it first, gut twisting as he scrolled in the student union, coffee turning to ash in his mouth. Roy's face was everywhere. Grainy photo from the mill, headlines screaming scandal. His phone blew up. Mia's frantic texts, teammates' confused emojis, coach's curt voicemail. "Clear your shit out, both of you." He raced to Roy's apartment, pounding the door until it flew open. Roy looked wrecked, hair tousled, eyes bloodshot, a half-empty beer on the counter. "Ralph, it's bullshit. Tommy cornered me after practice. Said he'd out you again if I didn't back off. I told him to fuck off, but he twisted it. You should have told me," Ralph roared, voice breaking on the edge of sob. The room spun, posters of Lombardi and Montana mocking from the walls. "I trusted you. Thought we were in this together. But you're protecting your spot, right? QB1 can't afford the rainbow." Roy grabbed his arm, desperate. "No. I was buying time, talking to the AD, lining up allies. This team's my family too, but you're everything. I love you, Ralph. Not like a bro. For real." The words pierced, raw and true, but doubt poisoned them. Ralph yanked free, storming into the hall. The doors click a guillotine. Love felt like another benching, colder than the first. The fallout was apocalypse. Protests swelled, alumni donors pulling checks, the game against the Hawks hanging by a thread. Roy under siege through interceptions in practice, his arm betraying him. Teammates splintered. Some ghosted, others rallied in hushed huddles. Mia smuggled Ralph to a dive bar off campus, where he drowned regret in cheap whiskey, toasting absent ghosts. But Roy didn't quit. He cornered Tommy in the weight room, voice low thunder. You think this makes you a man? Selling out your own for clicks. A shove, a scuffle. Caught on phone video, going viral as Eagles Civil War. Coach suspended them both, the team fracturing like dry earth. Rock bottom came the night before the game. Ralph, alone on the empty field under floodlights, laced up old cleats and ran patterns in the dark. Ghosts of plays whispering past. Footsteps crunched Roy, bruised from the fight, jersey torn. I'm done hiding, he said, dropping to one knee in the end zone. Not a proposal but a plea. Marry this fight with me. We'll lose the game, the scouts, whatever. But not each other. Tears carved tracks down Ralph's face, the stadium's vastness shrinking to just them. He pulled Roy up, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the chill. Okay, Ralph whispered. But no more secrets. Dawn broke with a reckoning. Roy called a team meeting in the lot. No coach, just Eagles under sodium glow. Ralph's one of us, he declared, voice steady as a snap count. Benching him? That's benching our soul. Who's with me? Silence, then a murmur. Javier from defense, nodding slow. Then Lena, the trainer, fierce, all the way. One by one, hands raised, a circle forming. Tommy slunk away, exposed. Coach arrived to find his team united. Jerseys inside out with LB12 sharpened on backs. Play us proper, Roy said. Or we walk. Harlan's jaw worked, empire cracking. He nodded, gruff. Suit up, Whitaker. You're starting. The game was chaos incarnate. Hawks howling for blood. Crowd a roar of confusion and chance. Ralph hit the field like thunder, sacking the QB on third down, the stands erupting in fractured cheers. Roy's passes found their rhythm, a dance honed in shadows. But midway, Tommy, desperate for redemption, clipped Ralph low, knee buckling with a pop. Pain exploded, white hot, but Ralph rose, waving off medics, eyes locked on Roy. The final drive, 4th and goal, Roy fading back, pressure closing. He spotted Ralph in coverage, but instead of the throw, he spiked the ball. Intentional grounding? No, a signal. Teammates swarmed, not for the Hawks, but forming a wall. Roy dropped to Ralph as he limped off, whispering, "We did it. You did it." Easton lost 28-24, but victory tasted sweeter in the huddle's roar. Post-game, press swarmed, headlines shifting. Eagles fly for equality. Donors trickled back. Scouts lingered. Ralph's knee needed surgery, but PT waited, and so did futures. Months blurred. Rehab sessions where Roy snuck in, their hands brushing over foam rollers, kisses stolen in empty PT rooms. Soft, exploratory, a language of redemption. Mia beamed at their first awkward family dinner, her toasts to found families drawing laughs. Easton installed rainbow end zones, a plaque for the Unity game. Ralph and Roy walked the mill path one spring evening, dogwood blooming white against the river's gleam. Think we changed the world? Ralph teased, lacing fingers with Roy's. Roy grinned, that old drawl warm. Nah, just our corner. But damn if it ain't enough. In the end, it was two boys from broken maps, rewriting the playbook one stand at a time. The off-season stretched like a long shadow over Easton, the campus shedding its autumn blaze for winter's skeletal grip. Ralph's knee throbbed with every step on the ice-slick paths, a constant reminder of the price paid for that final stand. Surgery had gone smooth, torn ACL repaired, titanium screws holding him together like the team now tried to. But rehab was a grind, each session in the athletic center a battle against doubt. Mirrors reflected a man leaner than before, scars mapping his leg like rivers on a drought-struck plain. But his eyes held a new fire, tempered by Roy's quiet presence at his side. They navigated the new normal with the caution of explorers charting unproven land. Dates were low-key. Stolen hours at the campus coffee shop. Roy's truck bed under blankets stargazing. Hands exploring boundaries with the reverence of something sacred. No grand gestures, just Roy's thumb tracing Ralph's jaw in the dim light of a movie theater, whispering, "You're beautiful when you laugh," or Ralph cooking Mia's chili recipe in Roy's cramped kitchen. the spice cutting through the awkward silences like truth serum. Love bloomed slow, roots digging deep into the soil of shared scars. But the team wasn't the monolith it seemed. Cracks lingered beneath the unity facade. Javier, the defensive captain who'd raised his hand first in that parking lot huddle, pulled Ralph aside after an alumni fundraiser scrimmage. "Some guys are cool now on camera," he muttered, glancing at the cluster of boosters clapping politely. "But locker room talk? Still poison. Tommy's gone, transferred to some D3 school, but Echoes hang." Ralph nodded, the weight settling like dew on his shoulders. He'd felt it. The side eyes during pickup games, the way freshmen hesitated before slapping his back. Acceptance was a wave, not a tide, ebbing when the spotlight dimmed. Roy, ever the optimist, pushed back with barbecues at his place, inviting stragglers one by one. "Food fixes everything," he'd joke, flipping burgers while Ralph manned the cooler, passing IPAs with a wink that dared anyone to flinch. Mia thrived in the chaos, her art major sketches capturing the team's fractured beauty. Pencil strokes of jerseys intertwined like lovers' limbs, subtle rainbows woven in the laces. She dragged Ralph to her exhibit opening in the student gallery, Roy in tow, his arm a steady anchor around Ralph's waist as they mingled with wide-eyed undergrads. "This is us," Mia said, pointing to a piece titled Huddle. Two figures silhouetted against a storm, hands clasped. Roy squeezed Ralph's side, murmuring, "She's got your fire." Yet betrayal's ghost lingered, not from teammates, but from within. Roy's family loomed like thunderheads on the horizon. His dad, Pastor Ellis, a towering figure in their small Texas town with a voice that boomed sermons on righteousness, had seen the headlines. Calls came weekly, first veiled warnings, then outright ultimatums. "This phase ends, son, or the door closes." Roy's mom, soft-spoken Evelyn, sent care packages of pecan sandies and Bible verses, her notes pleading, "God loves all, but choices have costs." Roy hid the strain behind grins, but Ralph saw it in the late nights Roy spent pacing his apartment, phone clutched like a grenade. One February evening, after a rehab milestone, Ralph squatting his body weight again, Roy cracked. They were tangled on the couch, some rom-com flickering ignored on Netflix, when Roy's phone buzzed. He silenced it, but the shadow crossed his face. "Your dad?" Ralph asked, propping on an elbow, the concern knitting his brow. Roy sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah," says, "if I persist in this delusion, no wedding invite for graduation. Like I'm the villain in his Prodigal Son reboot." Rage flickered in Ralph's chest, hot and protective. "He's wrong. You're his blood, Roy. Not some cautionary tale." "I know." Roy's voice wobbled, vulnerability cracking his quarterback armor. "But it hurts, man. Grew up thinking love was unconditional, till it ain't." He pulled Ralph close, burying his face in the crook of his neck, breaths shaky. "Promise me we don't let this break us." "Never," Ralph vowed, fingers carding through Roy's curls, the scent of his shampoo, citrus and clean sweat, a balm. They made love to the rhythm of their heartbeats, slow and affirming, bodies speaking what words fumbled. No rush, no conquest, just the poetry of two souls aligning. Ralph's hands mapping the freckles on Roy's back like constellations. Roy's lips tracing the scar on Ralph's knee like a prayer. Spring training dawned with tentative hope. The Eagles reconvened, freshmen wide-eyed, veterans battle-scarred. Coach Harlan, ever the tactician, called a mandatory workshop. Guest speaker from GLAD, slides on allyship and microaggressions. Groans rippled, but Roy stood first, sharing his story raw. The freeze, the stand, the love that pulled him through. "Ralph taught me courage ain't solo," he said, voice steady, hand finding Ralph's under the table. Applause built, genuine this time, Javier leading a chant. One team, one fight. Ralph suited up for light drills, knee braced but spirit unbowed. His first sack in scrimmage drew whoops, Roy's high-five lingering, electric. Scouts returned, notebooks open, but Ralph played for the joy now. The crack of pads, The mud under nails, the brotherhood reforged. Then the second shoe dropped. An anonymous email hit the athletic department. Grainy photos from the mill, time-stamped, captioned, "Proof of distraction." Sender? Tommy Vance. From his new campus. Nursing grudges like fine wine. The scandal reignited. National podcasts dissecting Eagles' gay agenda. Boosters balking anew. Coach hauled Roy in. Face like flint. This leaks wider, program's done. You two? Separate quarters. Public distance. Roy stormed out, finding Ralph on the practice field, kicking dirt clods. "I'm quitting," he spat, helmet dangling from numb fingers. "Fuck the NFL dreams if it costs you." "Don't," Ralph begged, grabbing his shoulders, green eyes fierce. "We built this. Tommy wants us broken. Don't give him the win." The argument raged, words like tackles. Roy accusing Ralph of martyrdom, Ralph firing back on cowardice. They parted bruised, Roy crashing at Javier's, Ralph with Mia, who brewed tea and plotted revenge. Cis mode activated. "We sue his ass." Reconciliation came circuitous. Through a campus protest Roy stumbled into. Queer students marching for inclusive housing, signs echoing their own fight. He texted Ralph a photo, "Your people. Miss mine." Ralph arrived, slipping into the crowd, their hands brushing amid chants. "Fight smarter," Ralph said later, over greasy diner fries. "We go public. Own it." The press conference was electric. Coach at the podium, flanked by them, announcing Eagles' Pride Initiative. Roy spoke first. "Love doesn't bench talent. It builds dynasties." Ralph followed, voice steady. "I'm gay. I'm an Eagle, and I'm here to stay." Questions flew, tabloid bait, but answers landed solid, unity a shield. Summer scorched in, internships pulling them apart. Ralph coaching youth camps in Ohio, Roy with a sports media gig in Dallas. Letters bridged the miles. Roy's scrawled on church stationery, defying his dad. Ralph's typed on his laptop, quoting Neruda. Mia visited, her sketches now murals on Easton's rec center, capturing their arc. Fall semester hit like a blitz. The opener against the Hawks rematch crackled. Stadium packed, rainbow flags waving defiant. Ralph started, knee singing but spirit soaring, stuffing runs like old times. Roy orchestrated, passes threading needles, their on-field chemistry a silent sonnet. Halftime tied, tension thick as turf steam. Second half, Hawks surged, a trick play gashing defense. Score 21-17 under 2 minutes. Roy dropped back, blitz clean, sack looming. Ralph, blitzing opposite, shed his block, barreling in. Collision. Roy stiff-armed the rusher, flipped the ball to Ralph in stride. "No, wait." A lateral improvised, Ralph rumbling 40 yards, diving untouched. Touchdown. Stadium erupted, tears mixing with sweat as Roy tackled him in end-zone joy. Whispers lost in roar. "Forever? Yeah?" Easton won 24-21. But the real score was etched deeper. Post-game, Pastor Ellis appeared in the stands. Unannounced, Evelyn tearful beside. He approached Roy in the tunnel, hand extended. "Saw the game, son. Saw you. No sermon, just a nod. Proud. Complicated, but proud." Healing rippled outward. Tommy's email traced, settled out of court. Apology video scrubbed from feeds. Easton scholarships bloomed for LGBTQ athletes. Ralph mentoring the first. Winter break found them at Roy's family ranch, snow dusting the scrub. Evelyn's pecan pie sweetened tense dinners. Ellis's questions probing gentle. "How'd you know?" he asked Ralph one evening by the fire, Bible open but unread. Ralph met his gaze. "Same way you did with her, I reckon. Heart don't lie." A chuckle, gruff. "Fair." New Year's Eve, under Texas stars vast as promise. Roy knelt again. This time with a ring, simple silver band etched with LB12, QB7. "Team up for life?" Ralph pulled him up, kiss sealing it. "Huddle forever." The engagement ripple spread like a stone in still water, stirring depths Ralph hadn't anticipated. Campus buzzed with wedding whispers. Who'd officiate? where to hold it. But beneath the congratulations lurked the undercurrent of doubt. The American dream's fine print for those who loved outside the lines. Ralph felt it in the counselor's office, mandatory check-ins post-scandal. Resilience scores high, but watch for isolation relapse. He laughed it off, but nights alone. Roy away at nil endorsement shoots. The quiet amplified old fears. Roy, thrust into spotlight, navigated with charisma masking cracks. ESPN features dubbed him the Ally QB, but late-night calls revealed the toll. They want the hero, not the guy who cried in your arms last month. His arm, once infallible, betrayed him in spring ball, Velcro tear, therapy sessions echoing Ralph's rehab grind. They leaned on each other, drives to the river where it started, skipping stones like skipping heartbeats. Mia, ever the spark, planned the wedding like a heist, budget venue at the old mill, renovated into a community art space, string lights and wildflowers subbing for excess. Humanistic, not Hallmark, she declared, sketching invites with intertwined cleats. But family fault lines quaked. Ralph's dad, Walt, surfaced from Ohio obscurity. Sober 2 years, a chip gleaming, phoning tentative. Heard about the situation. Mia says you're happy. That's something that he promised to come, suit pressed, demons leashed. Roy's side simmered. Evelyn warmed, sending quilt squares embroidered with eagles motifs. But Ellis wrestled sermons into shape, pulpit thundering on love's prodigal path to packed pews. A visit to Easton-tested waters. Dinner at Javier's, grill smoke curling, Ellis grilling Roy on intentions till Ralph intervened soft. We're building a life, sir. Brick by honest brick. Graduation loomed, caps and gowns a milestone laced bittersweet. Ralph walked with kinesiology degree, scout circling for coaching gigs. Roy, communications major, inked a minor league deal with the Austin Armadillos, CFL bridge to NFL dreams. But the draft buzz soured, analysts hedging, talent undeniable, but off-field drama. Roy shrugged it off publicly, but Ralph caught him staring at highlight reels, jaw tight. Summer wedding fever peaked in July heat. Rehearsal dinner at the diner, mismatched chairs and laughter flowing freer than beer. Tommy Vance crashed. Uninvited, eyes wild, apology slurring into rant. You ruined us. Javier and security ushered him out, but the venom lingered, a reminder that forgiveness was one-way street. Ceremony day dawned misty, Millbanks blooming riotous. Guests filtered in, teammates in ill-fitting suits, Mia radiant in lavender as best woman, Walt awkward but present, clutching a corsage like lifeline. Ellis officiated, voice steady. Love ain't scoreboard. It's the huddle after loss, the stand when stands empty. Vows exchanged under arbor of recycled goalposts. Roy's, you're my coverage. Always, Ralph's, and you're my Hail Mary. Kiss sealed. Cheers erupted. Rainbow confetti swirling. Reception spilled onto the river path. Bonfire crackling stories. Javier's toast to the tackle that changed everything. Lena's quip on PT for the soul. Walt pulled Ralph aside. Eyes wet. Your mom'd be proud. Sorry I wasn't. Forgiven, Dad, Ralph said, hug fierce. Start now. Honeymoon was a road trip. Route 66 Echoes. Motels with neon buzz. Detours to national parks where granite monoliths dwarfed worries. In Zion's slot canyons, Roy proposed a pact. No benches in our life. Call fouls early. Ralph agreed, their shadows merging on red rock, love vast as the sky. Fall found them settled in Austin, Roy's apartment overlooking the stadium, Ralph commuting to a high school coaching job in the suburbs. Mornings synced. Coffee black for Ralph, sweet for Roy, kisses tasting of future. But pro ball's grind tested. Roy's minor league starts rocky. Turnovers piling like regrets. A road loss in Calgary, 34-10, left him hollow, phoning Ralph at midnight. What if I'm washed? You're not. Ralph soothed, voice tinny over line. Remember Easton? You rose. But doubt crept, mirroring Ralph's own whispers. Am I enough without the pads? Betrayal struck insidious, not from foes but friends. An old teammate, Derek, surface ally, locker room laugh, leaked texts to a gossip site, flirty banter from early days, twisted into predatory grooming. Headlines screamed, Armadillo's QB's dark past. Sponsors flinching. Roy's agent panicked. Go dark. Blame youth. No. Roy snarled in their kitchen, pacing tiles. We own our story, or it owns us. Ralph backed him, but fear gnawed. Echoes of the mill, the bench. They issued a joint statement. Love's language is honest. Past is prologue, not predator. Backlash surged. Hate mail, boycotts, but support swelled. Glad spotlights, fan petitions. Derek apologized via DM, blocked immediately. Climax brewed in playoffs. Armadillos clawed to semis, facing rivals the Texas Thunder. A powerhouse with scouts galore. Game night, Austin Dome Electric. Ralph in stands with Mia, Walt beside his first live pro game. Roy started hot, arm fluid, but second quarter. Blindside hit, shoulder-popping audible over roar. Ralph bolted to tunnel, badge granting access, finding Roy iced, face ashen. It's bad, trainer said. Dislocated, maybe torn. Roy gripped his hand. Stay. For luck. Ralph did, whispering plays from the sideline. Roy re-entering taped. Grit incarnate. Final drive. Down 24-21. 1:20 left. Roy scrambled, evading rush, spotting receiver. Interception, Thunder's house to glory. Loss stung, but locker room huddle held. Teammates chanting next year. No fractures. Presser post-game. Roy raw, football's family. Mine's here. Camera pan to Ralph, hand on shoulder. Statement bolder than words. Off-season pivot. Roy signed analyst gig with ESPN, voice for underdogs. Ralph's high school team went state semis. Kids looking to him like beacon. They bought a fixer-upper in East Austin, painting walls sage, planting garden, roots literal. Anniversary marked with Mill picnic. Roy unveiling custom jerseys. Husband 12 on back. Full circle, he said. Ralph laughed, pulling him close. And just beginning. Yet humanism's thread wove deeper. Ellis visited, preaching a guest sermon at Austin's queer-affirming church. Voice cracking on grace for the outcast. Walt joined AA meetings with Ralph, sharing mom stories over coffee. Mia's art went viral, murals in stadiums nationwide. One crisp October eve walking Ladybird Lake Trail, Roy stopped, serious. Kids? Someday? Ralph's heart stuttered, visions of Minimus in cleats, or paint splattered like Mia. Yeah. Surrogacy, adoption, whatever fits. Roy's grin lit the dusk. Team of 3. Or 4. Love, Ralph mused, wasn't conquest but construction. Bricks of betrayal mortared with forgiveness, scaffold by stands taken. In America's vast gridiron, they'd carved their yard line, inch by defiant inch. 2 years into marriage, the rhythm of their life in Austin settled into a cadence as familiar as a well-timed snap. Mornings of tangled sheets and lazy coffee, evenings of takeout and game film, weekends coaching youth leagues where kids' eyes widened at the guys from that viral huddle. Ralph's high school program flourished, his defenses stingy, molding boys not just for wins but worth. Roy's ESPN perch amplified voices silenced before, segments on locker room love, drawing DMs from closeted athletes worldwide. They were poster boys for progress, but progress, Ralph learned, was a marathon with blisters. The blister burst in spring, Roy's contract renewal dangling. Network brass praised his authenticity, but whispers circulated, too activist. Ratings dip with the rainbow crowd. A trial segment flopped, Roy interviewing a trans coach, questions probing but polite, and feedback memos leaked. Stick to stats, not stories. Roy came home deflated, tie loosened, collapsing on the couch. They want the QB, not the queer. Ralph knelt, untying his shoes, hands steady. Then we shop you. Plenty of pods hungry for real. But pride stung deeper. Roy, bred on fields where second place was failure, fixated. Sleepless nights bred arguments. Sharp words over dishes. You don't get it, Ralph, this is my shot. And I'm what? Your cheer section. Forgiveness followed dawn. Apologies sealed in dawn light, but fractures webbed. Mia, now grad student in New York, sensed the strain during FaceTime. Y'all are the blueprint, she teased, studio chaos behind her. Canvases of queer icons. Don't let suits redraw you. Her visit healed. Gallery crawl. Barbecue with Walt. Visiting for a long-haul trucking job. Stories stitching generations. Betrayal's next guys wore a familiar face. Derek again, parlaying regret into a podcast. Eagles exposed. Episode drop. Twisted tales, implying Roy's manipulation of the team. Ralph as catalyst for chaos. Listeners lapped it, social storms brewing. Cancel Roy trending, sponsors pausing. Roy's agent bailed, citing toxic optics. Rage unified them. Ralph drafted the clapback. Op-ed in The Athletic. From bench to brotherhood. Why sports must evolve. Roy's voice narrated the audio version. Raw timbre cutting through. Backlash boomeranged. Support surges. Petitions for network accountability. Derek's show tanked. Host humbled in a tearful retraction. Climax crested in summer heat. Roy landed a dream gig. Sideline analyst for NBC's college coverage, starting with Easton's home opener. Returned to campus electric, stadium banners saluting the Huddle heroes. Alumni roaring. Pre-game, Roy cornered Coach Harlan, retired but honored. Gruff embrace. You were right to fight. I was wrong not to sooner. Kickoff. Easton versus a ranked SEC foe. Tension thick. Ralph, guest color commentator in booth, called plays with Roy below. Banter crackling over airwaves. Halftime, down 17-10. Roy texted, "Your voice, my North Star." Second half surge. Freshman QB channeling Roy's poise. Game-winning field goal as clock expired. Post-game, field invasion, fans chanting names. Roy climbed to booth, mic in hand. This wins for every kid on the bench. Stand up. Kiss Cam caught them, stadium messiah of cheers. Off-season brought expansion. They surrogate, process labyrinthine, shots and sonograms, but joy bloomed. Baby boy, Ellis Roy Whitaker, born screaming under Austin stars. Nursery walls papered in playbooks, crib mobile of tiny helmets. Walt doted, granddad tales of Ralph's toddler tackles. Evelyn knitted booties. Ellis baptized with inclusive rite. Fatherhood reshaped. Slee nights with colic cries. Roy pacing with bundled Ellis. Ralph brewing formula. Teamwork primal. Mia antied fierce. Visits laden with art books. Ralph's coaching drew NFL eyes. Defensive coordinator offer from a mid-tier team. But he stayed grounded, prioritizing daddy duty. Yet conflict simmered societal. A state bill loomed. Anti-trans sports legislation. Ripples threatening youth programs. Roy testified in Austin. Voice thunder. Bills like this bench dreams before they start. Ralph rallied coaches. Petitions flooding capitals. Victory narrow. Bill vetoed. But exhaustion lingered. A reminder. Progress precarious. Anniversary hike in hill country. Ellis in backpack carrier gurgling. They paused at overlook. Think he knows? Roy asked, bouncing the baby. Ralph chuckled, wind-tousling hair. He will. We'll teach him. Love's the ultimate play. Humanism deepened in quiet. Community center classes. Ralph on resilience. Roy on allyship. Filled with faces like their younger selves. Walt shared recovery story at AA, crediting my boy's strength. Ellis preached unity sermon, church packed diverse. One autumn dawn, Ellis Jr. first steps toward Ralph. Roy filming teary. Look at our line, Roy whispered. Ralph scooped him, heart full. Unbroken. In America's heartland sprawl, they'd forged not just survival, but sanctuary. Love a gridiron where every stand counted. Every betrayal a lesson in rise. 5 years post-vows, the Whitaker home thrummed with the chaos of thriving. A 2-story craftsman in Austin's East Side. Backyard turf scarred from toddler tackles. Kitchen calendar scrawled with T-ball schedules and podcast deadlines. Ellis Jr., Eli to all, was a whirlwind at 3, curls like Roy's, green eyes piercing as Ralph's, babbling plays while stacking blocks. Fatherhood's alchemy turned scars to strengths. Roy's analyst role expanded to full-time. Emmy nod for a documentary on queer athletes. Ralph ascended to head coach at a D2 powerhouse in San Marcos, commute a daily ritual of audiobooks and Roy's playlists. Life's ledger balanced joys against jabs. Eli's preschool unearthed microaggressions. A classmate's "boys don't marry boys," echoing playground taunts. But Ralph and Roy tackled head-on. Story times with and Tango makes 3. Parent-teacher confabs reframing family. Mia, thriving curator in Brooklyn, visited quarterly. Her murals now in MoMA. Anti-tales sparking Eli's crayons. Betrayal evolved, subtler. A network rival, envious of Roy's rise, shopped a hit piece. From QB to queer icon. Hype or heart? Dredging old scandals, interviewing Derek anonymously. Article dropped mid-season. Sync with Ralph's team's upset win over a rival. Backlash split. Fans divided. Boosters questioning distractions. Roy in studio green room. Read it live on air, pause, then pivot. Stories like this? They miss the huddle's heart. Ratings spiked. Irony sweet. Ralph, post-game presser, echoed. My husband's fight is our win. Unity fortified, but private vent. Bonfire that night. Article ashes and flames. Roy's head on Ralph's shoulder. When does it end? Ends when we say. Ralph murmured, stars pricking sky. Climax brewed professional. Roy's Emmy campaign peaked, competing against a conservative pundit whose traditional values Doc railed against agenda sports. Ceremony night in L.A. Eli with grandparents, tuxes starched. Red carpet buzzed. Flashes blinding. Questions probing. Roy? Address the critics? He grinned, arm around Ralph. Critics benched themselves. When announced, Roy's name, speech heartfelt. To Ralph, my forever teammate. To Eli, play fearless. Applause thundered, but post-party, rival cornered him. This crown's fool's gold. They'll tire of your type. Roy's retort iced. Tired? We're just warming up. Return to Austin grounded them. Eli's 4th birthday, Eagles-themed. Piñata a goalpost. Drew Kin. Walt grilling. Evelyn pies. Ellis Sr. leading Grace inclusive. Mia gifted a custom jersey. Eli heart. Laughter drowned old echoes. Summer sabbatical. Family road trip to Ohio. Ralph's roots. Trailer park visit. Walt's double-wide tidy. AA plaque proud. Eli chased fireflies. Walt sharing mom lore. She'd dance you round the kitchen. Singing Springsteen. Tears welled, healing harvested. Fall storm hit literal. Hurricane barreling Gulf. Evacuations ordered. Armadillos canceled. Ralph's camp shuttered. They hunkered in a San Antonio hotel. Eli wide-eyed at Weather Channel. Power flickered. Roy storytelling by flashlight. Tales of Easton stands. Mill confessions. Daddies always find way home, he promised. Storm passed. Damage surveyed. Flooded fields, but community rallied. Ralph organizing relief drives. Roy broadcasting appeals. In rubble, bonds forged. A trans teen athlete, displaced, joined Ralph's youth clinic, story mirroring theirs. You gave me green light, kid said. Humanistic arc curved benevolent. Roy launched foundation, Huddle Up, scholarships for LGBTQ sports hopefuls. First recipient a linebacker from rural Texas, echoing Ralph. Eli enrolled in inclusive preschool. Finger paints of 2 daddies plus me. Thanksgiving gathered full. Ellis Sr. carving turkey. Sermon on gratitude swapped for toasts. Walt, sober beacon. Raised glass. To families chosen and kept. Winter wonder. Eli's first snow in Colorado cabin rental. Sleds whipping downhill. Roy tumbling into drifts. Ralph capturing pure joy. Evening fire. Eli asleep between. Roy whispered. This, us, him, worth every blitz. Ralph nodded, peace profound. Gridirons bigger than one game. Spring bloomed expansions. Mia announced pregnancy. Adoptive NYC co-parent but visits vowed. Ralph's team clinched conference. Playoffs calling. Roy's doc sequel greenlit. Huddle home. One violet dusk. Backyard huddle. Eli tossing Nerf. Daddy's flanking. My team, he crowed. Roy ruffled his hair. Best ever. In America's tapestry, threads of trial wove tapestries of triumph. Their love, a pattern enduring, stands etched eternal. A decade distilled their saga into legend, whispers in locker rooms, TED Talks, a young adult novel Mia illustrated, bench to bond. Now in their mid-30s, Ralph and Roy anchored Austin's fabric. Ralph head coach at University of Texas Austin, defense's legendary. Roy VP at ESPN, curating inclusive coverage. Eli at 13, mirrored them, quarterback wiry, artist's eye from Mia, heart vast as plains. Life's ledger lengthened. Eli's middle school crushes navigated gentle. Like daddies? He'd ask. Roy chuckling. Exactly, bud. Follow feeling. Mia's family grew. 2 kids. Gallery empire visits raucous. Walt remarried. Stepmom June doting on Eli. Evelyn and Ellis retired to Austin. Grandparent duties delight. Yet conflict coursed perennial. National tides turned. A landmark case, Easton versus Harlan, Ralph and Roy as amici, affirming athlete rights. Hearings grueling. Testimony reliving benching, mill night. But verdict victorious. Ripples in state houses. Betrayal's final guise. Internal. Ralph's assistant coach, ambitious upstart, leaked strategy memos to rivals, framing Ralph as distracted by personal life. Scandal scorched, mid-season slump, boosters bang. Roy, in network war room, dissected. He's gunning your spot. Fight dirty or clean? Ralph chose clean. Open investigation, evidence mounting. Culprit confessed, fired swift. Fallout forged steel. Team huddle post-win streak. Loyalties our line. Cross it, you're out. Climax personal. Eli's coming out. Quiet dinner. I'm bi, I think. Like Jamie from Art Club. Fork paused. Roy's eyes misting. Ralph's hand covering his. Proud son. Who's got your back? Eli grinned. You too. Always. Tears flowed. Hugs ironclad. Roy later to Ralph. We did good. Humanism harvested full. Foundation thrived, huddle up camps nationwide. Eli Jr. counselor, mentoring shy kicks. Walt's 90th, family sprawl. Stories swapped, legacies linked. Eli's high school championship. UT affiliated, Ralph sidelines, Roy broadcast. Mirrored origins. Tied late, Eli scrambling, lateral to teammate, game sealer. Stands thundered. Family swarming field. Post-game under goalposts, Roy pulled Ralph aside. Full circle, coach. Ralph kissed him, salt sweet. And counting. Legacy lingered. Ellis Sr.'s eulogy, years on at packed cathedral. My son taught grace in the grind. Mia's retrospective, murals of their arc Eli's college choice. Easton, scholarship earned. Jersey 12 retired in his honor. Twilight years dawn gentle. Coaching clinic empires, podcast duo with Eli, travels, Paris cafes, Tokyo dojos, loves language universal. Grandkids tumbled, Eli's twins, Mia's brood, backyard chaos eternal. One golden sunset, river walk hand in hand. Roy mused, worth the bench. Ralph squeezed, every yard. In America's grand play, their story, dramatic, emotional, romantic, raw, endured. Not by tragic, but humanistic him, stands taken echoing infinite.